Yeah, first of all, again, I would like to address that this final session of masterclass is to adopt the transdisciplinary approach of sustainability science, where we are gather the local communities and as well as the various stakeholders involved in various activity programs related with Subaks. And also we are in engage several experts from the local expert from Bali, University Mahasaraswati, University Udayana, as well as various experts from higher education institution from Malaysia, in order to come up with co-identification of the problems related with Subaks, as well as how these issues and problems related with Subaks will be used as our part in localizing sustainable development goals specifically for these local level issues. The result of our workshop-based participatory approach is in the form of two FGDs, uh, focus group discussion 2, and also focus forum Subak 2, and also forum Subak 3. And we will also come up with the multi-level sustainability science, the possibility of framework in order to get a better understanding on how is this complexity and global issues related with sustainability, and by using the Subak as a case study. In this summary of Masterclass 4, after the FGDs and multi-stakeholder sharing section from local leaders, local enterprise in the Forum Subak 2, we are also gather in the process to come up with a co-understanding of the local knowledge and followed by the co-envisioning of the solutions. We will explain it more by using the image and the more structured approach. And then at the end is we will come up with specific goals and target under the SDGs as a part to localizing SDG by using score analysis at the end. Again, just to recap again, what is sustainability science? Of course, is scientific knowledge generated as a basis for formulate science-based innovative solutions. We are also already addressed about the interdisciplinary, so we will coming for this session about the transdisciplinary. We will find the common issues and problems at the local level and optimizing social and humanity potential that already present in the last masterclass 3, and how is we will aim for well-being of these situations. Transdisciplinary approach, if allow me to back to the original definition on citing from several experts in several research article journal. Transdisciplinary approach itself in sustainability research is actually problem definitions that directly link to the normative values. So it will focus on how is the Hita Kerana philosophy has been tackled as a normative values in this society, especially in Balinese peoples. And science alone, of course, is not competent enough to legitimize and to realize the research and draw on recommendation without consulting societal experts, societal actors. So these are the concern why we need to use this transdisciplinary approach in order to get the sense of the issues at the local level to tackling the life world problems related to the dynamic interaction between the society and the nature. And by using this participatory based approach as well in the form of the workshop based approach, we would like to integrate the knowledge that previously the academic research has been come up with several results based on their discipline. Dr. Utari has been come up with the social capital, the needs, the importance of the networking, the bonding, the trust between the member of the Pekaseh, as well as the Hita Kerana will already forms set a norms of value between the Balinese, and it's already transferred and manifest in various programs, activities, and daily life of the Balinese people. But then how this local knowledge, these norms has been adopted and has been integrated in our process, where our leaders from higher education might more towards scientific knowledge and more towards silo approach. But during this discussion and during this focus group discussions, by involving various actors, there is a consensus between us in order to realize the common issue at the local level related with the Subak. And then again, where the participatory based approach also seek to facilitate participatory and allows the multi-level governance process in this case, where the Subak as part of the World Heritage Site becomes, and also Bali province as a major tourism attraction in this island, is become a national global problems when also related with the climate change, etc. So these are iterative process of knowledge creation, application, re-election, learning, and feedback to sign or decision making is actually a long learning process, time dimensions, and actually our process is not covered all this process. So in the next slide, yeah. This is the inter and transdisciplinary that we adopt in our exercise. So first forum Subak 1 is interdisciplinary, has been presented in the last MS MasterClass 1, 2, and 3 actually, and also part of the Asian Sustainability Leadership. And then the forum Subak 2, where Dr. Dharma will share what is the result from our multi-stakeholder discussion. And this output also gather with the Pekaseh farmers' input. So it will be the result of our SDG goals tracking at the end. So these are the framework that we are trying to use in our exercise. From the cycle of this framework, the first stage is actually co-realization of a common problems, and followed by the co-envisioning future. What will be the action, the solution, the action plan that will be potentially be implemented in this area, in this case study as Subak. And then how would be we are co-shaping into envision future for the society. And of course, this process, if we followed whole the process, will be followed by the co-implementation, the consensus on how to implement from the solution of this common co-realization of the problems, and followed by monitoring and evaluation. So this ideal process, actually, we only have a chance to come up with to use step 1, 2, and 3 in our exercise. So we will not cover the step 4 and 5 due to time restriction and limitation in our programs. So again, just to recap again of this process, if we are concerning about the transformation itself, we need to co-implement in the long term, and we need to have a set of monitoring evaluation for the implementation. Again, this one's actually this kind of new approach of science is actually real take into account the realization, of course, the issue at the real world, at the local level. So it's not only one way of knowledge transfer from the scientists to the local people, but then we need to consider the local opinions, the problems that would be help us in better implementation of the programs or action related with sustainable development. So these are actually what we call it as a mode 2 of science or knowledge, and also interface between science and practice as a complex terrain, and also cover about a multi-level system governance and knowledge production among the range of actors. So these are the shift actually from the environmental management perspective on this we adopt in this exercise, that we are not totally come up with something solution that this is should be the Subak or A, B kind of action. No, we are together with the Subak, with the Pekaseh, with the local community, the farmers, actually on how to come up with the identification of the problems and how we address that problems. And that is why we come up with series of action plan. That is the idea of this our exercise on through the transdisciplinary approach. So at the end, it becomes dispersion of gaps between the practitioner and the science itself becomes a blur, and hopefully there is different forms of knowledge and rationality, and it becomes a norm. It becomes what we call it as a transdisciplinary on how is the science and knowledge itself there's exchange of knowledge. So again, if I would like to address on how is the dimension or the knowledge type itself is not only limited to the science and as one of one disciplines or mainly dominating that this current mode 1 of the knowledge, but we are also acknowledge the dimension of the local knowledge on how is the level of formal process used to generate the knowledge is informal. So there is range of knowledge between the informal knowledge and the formal knowledge, the local and generalized kind of knowledge, and what is the novice that already experts. Normally they will come up with a novel kind of results of the output from their research in a very narrow and very specific disciplines. But now in the realm of the science, policy, technology, and social, so we need this kind of adjustment in order to include the local knowledge and traditional knowledge, and also the practitioner in this realm of transdisciplinary. Just to recap again about the sustainability science dimension that also come up with the global social and human system. So this complex problem is actually will distract and will defragmented in several team of a focus group discussion. In our case exercise, we have 3 groups, and the team are already trying to cover this kind of dimension actually. So these are what on how is transdisciplinary approach in multi-stakeholder sharing session in Forum Subak 2, where the each of the practitioner from the local leader, the Pekaseh, the private company or industry, and also local government has their own perspective, has their own experience with the Subak. And on this picture is how we gather in one groups. We have 3 groups with different teams. In one group consists of various experts from various disciplines. At the same time, also we have Pekaseh or local community, local leader, and as well as local officer, government officer, in order to get the consensus on how is the identification for the problem at the local level, especially for the Subak. So influence from the knowledge integration process, where the external expertise view has been included, and also there is different institutional power perception. So there is process that what we call is a knowledge integration process during the focus group discussion. Maybe during the Pekaseh address that this is the problems that we face. Actually, there is a land conversion, even though World Heritage Site is not allow the land conversion in the World Heritage Site area, but that is happened. But some of the Pekaseh also address that this happened within beyond their power. Or no, of course, there is a question on how is the local authority play roles in these things. So this kind of discussion is sometimes is very hard to get a consensus, and then we are also trying to draw the mind mapping in order to get the clear picture what is actually happening in this area related with the Subak. So these are the stakeholders, and this evaluation also actually for the project cycle is really tiring process, various cycle involved, and then time consuming. So we only cover in a very short period of time. So we acknowledge that there is, of course, there is a limitation from our result. So, but then this is an exercise for how is sustainability science has been implemented. Hopefully, it can be one effort to realization of the sustainability science in the complex problem of related with the Subak. So these are another cycle of the knowledge, different type of knowledge included for environmental management and sustainability in our case. Again, the same cycle, problem identification, identify the related existing knowledge that can help us in understanding more about the problems. And at the same time, we are also from different knowledge, it helps us to get in an insight what is actually the problem at the local level. But then, of course, we need also an exchange, a discussion more to the community at the local level, the local governments, and all these things are actually to help us in come up with more realistic problems and complex potential solution from the existing effort, from the existing problem that we identified. And then again, just to recap for the inter and transdisciplinary process, if you look at the figure A, these are the various disciplines that we call it the transdisciplinary as well, on how is the most of back to our previous on MasterClass 1, we already highlight on the socio-ecological system that is very common to address or apply the transdisciplinary approach in this socio-ecological system. And then in the B, for discipline, a combination of various disciplines also apply for management and conservation. So transdisciplinary approach is also organically is based on the community, is interactive and a participatory research approach. Actually, this is maybe also common in the planning process where we need more participatory input from the community and from society. So I will let my colleague, Dr. Dharma Putra from Udayana, to explain more about the transdisciplinary process in our exercise. Dr. Dharma, please.
Thank you, Dr. Irina. My name is Dharma Putra from Center for Sustainable Development, Udayana University. I would like to share what we do during the program for implementing the sustainable development in the sustainability science. Even though we understand that sustainability science is really very good example to deal with the transdisciplinary process. In this case, we use the inviting some Subak peoples and academia and people from practitioner, also the entrepreneur. So I would like to explain about the program Subak 2. One of invited local leader that we need the share information regarding the tourism-based community is Mr. Agung Prana. He's very famous in the community-based tourism practitioner because he have a long time experience as a local leader in develop implementation of sustainable development, mostly based in tourism activities. We understand that tourism based on community is the most effective sustainable approach for living culture landscape. But we also then understand from Mr. Agung Prana experience, this need a very strong support from the local community. We understand tourism function as a sustainable culture and platform for environmental sustainability, but it can be done through a local-based community concept. In Bali, we understand the growing of the tourism development starting in the village sites. We understand that during the 1970s, the tourism developed at Ubud area, for example. It starts by use of the tourists who come to Ubud. They stay in the house owned by the local villager. Then we understand after that, homestay development by using the community backyard can be functioned as a tourist attraction too. Because in Bali, mostly in the village, they have a several area, first of course for spiritual function, and the other for the everyday life, and then also they have backyards. So that's homestay development by using the backyard of the house is really very good then to be a tourist attraction too. And tourism sector potential to synergize with agriculture sector, especially in the wetland, is to improve the local community or farmer income to obtain from the tourism sector. So the farmer not only based on his production in the agriculture sector, but they can also get benefit from the tourism sector. We also can understand how Mr. Gusti Agung Prana become very good example for local leader who've also become a founder or pioneering the community-based coastal village destination development. He did this in the Pemutaran village in the northern part of Bali. He worked very hard with, of course, with some friends and also the people who have shared their similar vision about the community development. From this picture, we can see how local leader shared by Gusti Agung Prana can use the sustainability sign for community-based organic agrotourism, for example, in Tabanan, Bali. And this is some experience that he shared during the program of sustainability science implementation during our, for example, he said that how to make an environmental disaster become destination of choice. This is a very good vision or mission for the changeable activities. From the environmental disaster, we understand that Pemutaran village on the 1988, for example, this is a lot of catastrophe there. The damage of coral reef, and this is only dry land up there. And also poverty and destructive attitude in the bombing the peace, illegal fishing, etc. But from the experience shared by Mr. Agung Prana, how the environmental disaster then changed by the commitment to implement the sustainability approach become destination of choice, and how to encourage the community awareness or participative attitude. This is the hard part of this implementation process. The key to achieve the goal, from his experience, he can get, there are two point, very difficult point to understand, but it can be implemented. One is community awareness, how to improve or gets the community awareness of the people who stay in the village. And after that, can become a community attitude. All the people in the village can change their attitude, not only damage the environmental, but then become a choice of their daily life. And Mr. Agung Prana also find that it's really very good approach. Balinese have a very long time from the ancestor. What he called is the cultural and spiritual approach. At the beginning, as we mentioned before, how to change the attitude of the local villagers. So the first approach he used is a culture and spiritual approach, because most of Balinese stay in village, they are practicing the Hinduism. Of course, in Hinduism, part of the spiritual thought is how to harmonize with the environment, and how they using the practicing of the Hindu's philosophy, Hindu's sastra to their daily life. Then Mr. Agung Prana understand very much. Culture and spiritual approach can become a very good tool to change their attitude. And to get this one, stakeholder and collaboration and synergize amongst the local villagers, the local leaders, spiritual leaders, and of course the government official and academy and the people or tourists or scientists from all over the world to share common interests and common goal in the spirit of togetherness. And thence they become effective effort employed. We then also understand from the experience of Mr. Agung Prana in the Pemutaran village, how before the damage of the environments, then the all people in the village can change, become a very good condition. How the rehabilitation of resource into a vibrant landscape of nature and culture they can get. And of course, after that, they can benefit for all aspects. The activities is very good introduced in the example in the marine life. The coral and fisheries, natural habitat rebounds. It's really very good example about how the villager amongst the stakeholder participate in the change before and after condition. And the introducing of the good technology shared by the scientists from all over the world. For example, in the Pemutaran area, some international patents technology they can use. They call it biorocks. How the growth of coral reef used with the very small electricity currents can grow the coral simultaneous. So that's before the damage of coral reef, by introducing the very good technology of biorock, then become a very good coral reefs. Development of amazing marine park, what they have a very good or success implementation of sustainability science. Then we can understand people all over the world, the scientists from many countries, learn about how implementation of the technology like biorock in the village at Pemutaran, it's northern part of Bali, at very far away from the Denpasar city, the center of tourism in Bali. But they have a very good effort to do that. So that's from this experience we understand the developing of Pemutaran coastal village has become a special interest tourism destination. But we then understand to get this result, it's take a long effort. What Mr. Agung Prana shared with us in this program is, at the beginning, we need the educational destination field trip, because not all the villages in Bali have the example like that. So if other villages want to implement also this kind of sustainability science, they can use the village who already done and with the good effort to do that. So the program for educational destination field trip is really very useful to do that. And after that, of course, public entertainment, also a very effective tool to share the condition, of course, with the very easy understanding information. And the spiritual and culture approach need adoption or adopting local wisdom in development concept. In Bali, we have several local wisdom like Kerana, Trikaya Parisuddha, Tatuam Asi, etc. And by adopting this local wisdom, then the implementation of scientific technology in the improving local disaster problem can get benefit very much. Yeah. And after that, from Agung Prana experience, human resource recruitment is really very important tool also. How we can choose the hero, the local leader, then recruitment activities to reinforcing local village law. The law introduced by and developed by the villager. In Bali, we call it awig-awig. This awig-awig, of course, not only used for the marine nature, we can use also or implement for other activities. And if the awig-awig or local law is already developed, then it's easier to empowering the village security. Because, of course, we need the law enforcement of all the awig-awig for implementation. Mr. Agung Prana told us that the most important thing is action, how to make all the concept of sustainable development become an action plans and then do what they can do. To do that once, we need the community empowerment. Of course, all the process, this is already done. And then the conservation and development timeline, we understand this is not a very short task. This is quite long. More than 10 years, Mr. Agung Prana and his colleagues in Pemutaran Village do this kind of implementation of sustainability concept to concept and a development timeline. Starting on 1989, Pemutaran Village was an environmental disaster, as I mentioned before. But next year, after 1 year after that, 1990, ecotourism pioneer Agung Prana come in this village and become community education using the traditional culture and spirit, and also needs the spiritual and culture approach. And after that, takes about 10 years. Then a lot of scientists all over the world take attention to this area because, of course, the scientists at the beginning only as a tourist to come to Bali, but because the share of information by local leader like Agung Prana, then they can share also their knowledge in scientific knowledge. And BioRock project began on 2000 until present, and then the scientists from the universities, student involvement, and of course the government, local government involvement also very good action of this area. This is what we understand from the experience of one of local leader that we use for this program, Mr. Agung Prana, and after 10 years of a very hard work, then after that, he can receive a lot of awards. Starting on 2011, he gets what we call a award, very prestigious award. It's very local initiative award, but it's really very famous now after a lot of people have this kind of awards, or also the institution. And suddenly after that, Agung Prana received many kind of award for his effort. From this experience, we can understand that to implement the sustainability approach, we need pioneering. We need local leaders. We need people who have vision and mission to implement this kind of concept. So what lesson learned and key message that we can get? Key goal of environmental disruption area is the community awareness and attitude. Because from this awareness of the community, then change the attitude, we can reach the goal. How to encourage community attitude and participative attitude? There are several approaches needed. First is culture and spiritual approach. We understand, especially in Bali, and then we can, with Dr. Erina, also mention about the Subak system. And of course, this kind of approach can be implemented also for other sector, business or environmental or anything. But we learn from Agung Prana activities in his leadership in the local and implement the sustainability approach. Is culture and spiritual approach is really very effective tool, especially in Bali, because we understand that Balinese mostly practicing Hindus religion, and from everyday life they implement all the sastra of Hindus to do their daily life. So the culture and spiritual approach effective in this case. Secondly, stakeholder collaboration and synergy involving community, social, business entrepreneur, government, and scientific technology. In the matter of scientific technology, the implement of biorock system, biorock technology to improve the coral reefs is really very effective in this area. Of course, there are several technology already available now, and also become very popular to implement the scientific approach like that. The third is sharing common interests and goal in the spirit of togetherness. This is really very effective tool, because what the first thing we should done to implement the sustainability concept is common interest. How all the people who involved, stakeholder who involved in this matter, sharing their interests and become common interests, and of course become common goal, but in the spirit of togetherness. This not can be done by only one sector. Should be interdisciplinary action, stakeholder action, and all the people have sharing their common interest and goal. Then after that, we can get the fourth is effective effort influence. Effective effort, of course, need very good preparation. How we can also implement many theory of the how to make effective efforts. And after that, the community empowerment will be get together. But last but not least, the most important thing is action, not just research paper or just a share idea or just talk, but action. This is what we get from the Agung Prana, very good lesson learned and key message, action. But we understand, as a scientific community, action is not easy way. From the lesson learned, we understand to be a community empowerment action, first, we need educational destination field trip. We should have a pilot project. We should share and develop one very good active preparation, action, and implementation location. And then after that, share with other area or other people who want to do the similar thing. So then we can share with the pilot trip, and during the program, we of course involve many several people from Malaysia, from Bali, from certain background, different background, to share what actually already done by the people in Jatilui. This is what we use in this program. And then we can get the educational public entertainment, of course, with the very good AC information to be shared with the very good public speaking. Because, for example, if we share the scientific research with the farmer who have a different education background, if we use the scientific idiom, of course, not very good for the understanding by the farmer. So that we need the AC and very interesting public entertainments, educational public entertainments. And we also get the very good experience from Mr. Agung Prana as a local leader who implements sustainability science in the several area, how to adopt the local wisdom in development concept. Because in Bali, we understand that our ancestors in Bali already give us a lot of very good local wisdom. Hita Kerana once, local wisdom is already now become a very famous norm in Bali. Kaya Parisuda, Tatuam Asi, and many several local wisdom, and it's very effective in the preparation of the development concept in sustainability science. And after that, we understand the human resource recruitment, how we can recruit the people will have a similar vision and mission. What we call is the share common interest, common goal to make something sustainability implementation program. Then from the law enforcement, we should be prepare the local village law. We call it awig-awig. This is very easy actually to implement because in Bali, every village is already have their own awig-awig or local village law. What we need is how to make it with the sharing information and how to involve our tool, our targeting program in this very good awig and share together with all the people who involves. And after that, how the local village law can be imposed by, of course, we recruit what we call is village security. In Bali, it's known by Pecalang. For example, in Pemutaran, all the Pemutaran area is imposed by Pecalang Laut, what we call is marine village security. What their duty is to take care about the implementation of awig-awig, not to throwing the garbage to the sea, take action if somebody have a negative action in the marine area. It's really very good. On the second people or lesson learned from other stakeholder, we use what the experiment or experience by Mr. Nyoman Sutama. He is a head of Pekaseh and Jatilui area. And from his experience, we understand that Jatilui tourism developed beginning in 1994 until 1995. First is decided as a tourism area or in Indonesian, daerah tujuan wisata. Jatilui is really very good with the rice paddy terrace, and it's very famous after that. The number of tourists increasing up to 30,000 person a year. Then after that, there are 9 villages, 11 culture villages under Catur Angga Batukara area. And of course, the most important thing is after the tourism area, become increasing the local income. That's income generating from tourism at Jatilui, starting on 40% increase. Then and also about 55% goes to the Subak area. From his experience during the program, we then understand that is not an easy way in manage the Jatilui area. There are some several problems managing the tourist destination in Jatilui. He mentioned, or also we find during the focus group discussion after that with the several head of the Subak, the Pekaseh, There are lack of coordination across the government agency and complexity of the problem. We understand that starting on 2004, after that 2011, decentralization policy from the central government, this make the coordination amongst the stakeholders is quite difficult. It's look very easy to talk, but how to implement the coordination among the local government leaders and the local people. This is also mentioned by the head of Pekaseh, Mr. Nyoman. The second one is the problem also occur because each Subak has own management. They have autonomy to manage their Subak area. So of course, one Subak area have different awigawig and the other. That is also make a problem in the implementation. We also, the third one, have understanding after that. The leader of the Subak, they have no income generating. The leader is choosing by all the member, but because they are no income generating, then they are what we call in local word is yadnya, ngaya. It's no income become a leader. So that's, of course, the management of Subak need to improve in the modern management ones. So that's will impact. Then also they mentioned about how to get incentive from the program from the governments. And of course, the lack of human development capacity and management process. And he also mentioned of lack of infrastructure. And after that, he find that change of land use and different community mindsets, especially among the people who own the land to become rice paddies and extra. And the hard part of the Jatilui area, when they become very famous tourism destination, is the coming investor or people who have a lot of money. They want to develop accommodation, villa, resort development at Jatilui. This is what we get from head of Pekaseh, Mr. Nyoman Sutama. And the third one, we also have a sharing experience from the local leader who become famous as an organic composting enterprise. He was at the Pupuh village Kalamitan, and the government already mentioned about Simantri program. And then during that time, he can get understanding how to make organic products from the bananas, rice water, glucose, and implements a very simple technology in environmental management, especially for the water, wastewater activities program, and etc. And from this share experience, then he said that a lack of organic farm by farmer also occur in the certain area because of the introducing the chemistry or non-organic fertilizer. And during the program, we also share the experience from Mr. Nyoman Suastika from the Kerana Foundation. He's also very good speaker during the time because he's a former high-rank agency in Bali province government. He's previous the head of the culture agency Bali province, and he have experience to introducing and promoting Bali as World Heritage Sites because his duty during the government's official activities to promoting the world sites to become recognized by UNESCO. And from his experience, we understand that the effort to promoting Bali to become a World Heritage Sites it takes a challenge, a lot of challenge to do that. But after 3 years and help from the stakeholder participation from many agencies, then Bali become recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites of Cultural Landscape. And from his experience, he also shared that in Bali, every 3 years, they are promoting Subak in the World Culture Forum. It's very good international conference. Every times it's participate by all over the world. The people who have a vision, similar vision, recognized in the site, especially for Subak or for culture landscape, share their experience. And of course, this is very good for Bali itself and for implementation of sustainability science, example in the heritage landscape sites like that. He also mentioned how the main problem of World Heritage Sites, Subak site in Bali, similar with previous speaker. He said it's a land use change for shared peace and trade area is really very big challenge for the area. People tend to use their own land, depend on their perspective. And of course, as also mentioned by some certain speaker before, the challenge is how to make a young generation in Bali share their experience, want to become a good farmer. This is really very big challenge for young generation. Old generation taking care of what heritage sites, but no regeneration, because young people, of course, they tend to go to the big city, they get a very good education, and it's very difficult to mention the farmer is also really very good job. And then complex inter-organization institution problem. And he also mentioned from his experience, lack of collaboration across stakeholder. Of course, we understand that collaboration or coordination is really easy to talk, but to implement is quite difficult. The scientific community, they share their activities in research, but all in their community, in university or in the science seminar, international conference, etc. in a very good hotel. But how the farmer also can share their experience, lacks with the understanding of their condition, no income generating, etc. This is a we need the collaboration across the stakeholder. He also mentioned not clear in terms of regulation or coordination body, because until now the Jatiluwe area mostly use the daerah tujuan wisata. Tourism destination is their activities in the coordination or the body of organization. Of course, there are other area beside Jatiluwe want to get benefit from the World Heritage Site landscape site from UNESCO, but not yet get their benefit, good benefit. That is why he also mentioned the need of increased promotion for Subak to all the activities. Then we understand this program are also very good to promoting the Subak all over the world using this MasterClass program. YouTuber or netizen or any different organization all over the world can understand how difficulties and what kind of activities that we need in the future. Mr. Suastika then have a conclusion that the world recognition being World Heritage Site, pushing the national government to formalize the Subak site as strategic cultural site in Indonesia. This is, of course, a very positive effort, because then when the UNESCO also involved Subak, especially the Jatiluwe area and certain area in Bali, Pakrisan area become very famous. And suddenly, after Obama, the former president of United States, came to this area, the growth of the tourists who come to this area increasing significantly. He also mentioned as a calculation is the complexity of inter-organization institution a problem added to lack of collaboration across stakeholders. We already mentioned before. Need a clear regulation to support Subak side. That is what we need also. Probably after that, Dr. Irina will explain what the solution and the SWOT analysis of this program. And then, of course, all the effort should be goes to the farmer at Subak side, especially how to attract the young generation. Very clear this conclusion, how to promoting young generation to be a farmer, not only talk but they can get benefit from become a farmer, even though stay in the village, in the area far from the city. Then, as a conclusion, Mr. Suastika also mentioned how to improve the intensity of Subak promotion. Then after that, I myself from the Center for Sustainable Development, Udayana University, also mentioned what effort that we already done, starting from the year 2000, how to implement the local wisdom. We already mentioned about 3 Hita Kerana concept. In this kind of awareness in the tourism community to share their benefit, their business, their income in tourism, and with the goal to implementing the sustainable development concept. We call it 3 Hita Kerana Award and Accreditation. This is one initiative, local initiative starting on year 2000, imposed by the academia from certain universities. And the good thing is the local leader from the government official, Bali province, all the regency support this program. And the good thing of this program is because supporting by the people from the media, from the journalists, because the promotion then very fast because the importance of the media, the local media, the national media, and even the international media. 3 Hita Kerana Award and Accreditation actually the implementation of sustainable development concept. It's look like very similar concept. 3 Hita Kerana is local, but this is also universal concept. It's very similar with the previous sustainable concept, sustainable development concept, how to make something economically viable, environmentally friendly, and socially, politically acceptable, and also, of course, culturally sensitive. This is what in Bali we use as an idiom to promoting the local wisdom of 3 Hita Kerana. I would like to share what actually done by the 3 Hita Kerana Award and Accreditation starting on the year 2000 and until now is already 17 years. The 3 Hita Kerana is a very initiative based on local philosophy about harmony with implement at the promoting sustainability development, sustainability science, and become tool to prevent the impact of tourism development for nature and culture in Bali. This takes assessment. Firstly, of course, this is voluntary action. Of course, this should be starting by the initial screening aim to attract prospective participants after that. Similar with what Agung Prana mentioned of his experience, how to make awareness among the people or stakeholder and then become a common interest and common goal. So how to encourage the voluntary of all stakeholders in tourism industry in Bali in the implementation of sustainability development concept. Then after the initial screening, all the participants can follow the basic training to prepare the evidence. Basic training, of course, this educational activities, how we share together, what actually we need 1 year to follow or to implement the sustainable development concept in their community or their institution or their business. And if already have a similar or common interest, a common goal, then all participants will complete the list of statements provided of the manual book. So that all the institution will share their effort to implement the sustainable development concept in their own community and share together. And then the assessor of the Trita Kerana then go visiting the institution or hotel or school or university to share what already done by the participant and share their valuable parameter. And after that, of course, announcing the grade and then have a ceremony of the award. The good thing is because this is voluntary action, this is look like all the participants have their effort together. We share our common interest, how to take care the Bali nature and culture from the benefit of tourism. And then we share together what we already done. This is a very good example of the sustainability science concept. I would like to share what the parameter of the Trita Kerana award or certification. We divide by three. Parahyangan, this is human to the divine, so the harmonies with the gods. And the second one is Pawangan, human to human, harmonized. And then the third is Palemahan. This is a concept of the Trita Kerana, treating to get the prosperity. For example, how they use a sacred symbol in their hotel or their campus or school or the government office in implementing the understanding about the sacred symbol. How to introducing the worship or the contribution of the company to religious activities. This is really very good sharing activities from all the community and certain parameter in the Parahyangan sector. In the Pawangan sector, the concern of the safety and satisfaction of the customer. This is the very high value of parameter. But on the other hand, we also share the information about how the local institution, especially the hotel, the tourism industry, share or encourage their social or community empowerment and supporting the community-based activities. This is very related with what we call implementation of sustainability science concept and already done by experience mentioned by Mr. Agung Prana previous. Preservation and support of local culture. This is also very high score for this program and harmonious relation with the employee. Of course, the employee should be very happy to have a job in this hotel or restaurant or destination or even the school or campus. And the third sector is, of course, the nature, the human harmonies with nature. How the company commit with the environmental quality, carrying capacity, and clear management environmental program, saving energy, and also conducting regular monitoring and evaluation of environmental management. If all the three sectors then we share together, then of course after that we can understand how the sustainability science concept introducing and implement by its actor or community or hotel industry during the Trita Kerana award and certification process. Then we understand that even though starting on year 2000 until now, the growth of the participant, because this is voluntary, it's really very good. But if compared with all the hotel or in tourism industry in Bali, is in the area or 15 or 20% already improved. Of course, this is need improving in next states. So this is as a conclusion, we understand that even though this is a local initiative, it's already mentioned as a best lesson learned from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. And then the existence of the participant in the management of waste, saving energy, preservation and ecosystem development. Of course, this is produce the Sustainable Development Goal. About the Sustainable Development Goals, Dr. Irina will mention after this presentation. Then we can reach what actually we can get during the program of this masterclass, especially during the focus group discussion session 2. We prepare the question and answer to speaker and stakeholder. For example, a question about how is the homestay location determined. Of course, homestay developed by utilize the backyard of community house and built with aesthetic value, and of course with the standard operating procedure in safety and security in tourism industry, for example. This is we get from how Mr. Agung Prana implement their properties shared together with all the village in this area who implement the community-based development, especially in tourism. We also asked during the FGDs, who is inspiring the local wisdom and how to sustain. Of course, we need the focus in developing of sustaining local wisdom, and the implementation of it is by using the local people as a worker in homestay. For example, what we can get from experience in the property of Mr. Agung Prana. He developed the property starting from his, of course, his property, then share together with all the villagers, and then become a common interest and common goal to implement the sustainable development concept. We also asked how is the safety, security of the tourist camp. We understand that tourism is not a simple business. The main point of the tourism is safety and security. How can we care about safety and security for tourism? And in the matter of Subak system, in the World Heritage Site landscape site, we also developed how implement the Subak system in the sustainability science concept in every day, especially, for example, in Jatiluwe area. Dr. Irina will mention or explain about the SWOT analysis about that, the result of the FGDs. But as introduction, we also prepare the question and answer for the Pekaseh. Like Dr. Irina mentioned before, the interdisciplinary stakeholder involvement is very critical in sustainability science activities. How is the impact of tourism in Jatiluwe site? We asked about that. What also the benefit, the negative impacts or positive impact after one area or become a tourist destination? What kind of disturbance came from other parties? So that's how about the law related with homestay? There are certain awig prepared by the local villagers. How about the law created by the all area in Caturangga? This is in the case of Jatiluwe. And how the improvement of the government? What actually the implementation of the law prepared by the governments, central government, local governments, and what impact to be occur during the implementation of this kind of law. And the main point is because we understand that to become a leader in the Pekaseh or Subak, there are no salary suitable for doing the job. So that's we also ask about any subsidies from governments. How about the tax system, and what actually every take-home pay if we become a leader in Subak or become a Pekaseh? Because we understand this as a family, they have a child, they have a family, they have a young generation who want to get the very good education. Of course, we will improve the daily life of the Pekaseh and especially the farmer as everybody. So that's this is the hard part of the point of view during the focus group discussion session 3. We do ask about this question, and then we understand the income of the farmers is really very limited, very small. Is there any specific training for community surrounding what he knows, what heritage sites from certain organization? But we find the answer mostly no. They learn from their ancestor. Every day they learn a trial and error. This is what we can also will be focused during Dr. Irina presentation after that. And the question also about the tolerance with the ritual costs. We learn from the Professor Windier, Professor Kaller, and certain people who have scientific research in the Subak system. There are several, they said it's 15 or 20 kind of ritual should be done by the farmer in its Subak. Of course, this is need cost. How to maintain this tolerance with the high ritual cost? What is the money come from? Where the money come from? Yeah, this is the certain question and answer, and they say that of course they can accept, and it's tolerable. On the other hand, we can become a farmer in Jatilui, even though their daily life or take-home pay is very small, they're still happy become a Pekaseh. And we understand this is the implementation of the Hindus practicing ritual, the karma, they call it karma, the positive karma. If become farmer is really very important for other people because they're producing our everyday need, the very important needs. This is what I should finish my presentation, and I share and to Dr. Irina, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed the multi-stakeholder sharing session from the various stakeholders involved in our forum Subak 2 in Agung Prana's house, actually, in near Megwi or Taman Ayun. Now we are coming to the end of this our FGD's result. If actually we are during this exercise in part of the Sustainable Development Leadership Program, we divide the groups into 3, and then each group has heading by 3 different leaders. And then in each group also we have a combination of the local leaders, Pekaseh farmer, each of us from Malaysia, leader from Indonesia, from higher education in Malaysia, and then we are also trying to brainstorm again on how is to get the data information to get better understanding what is actually the sustainability issues in regard with the Subak, and to get more, of course, deeper, different views and comments, especially from the stakeholder that has been explained by Dr. Dharma. And in order to get better understanding in the existing policy and program from government and other respective agency and stakeholder, we developed this group. Each group has different sub-team in order to get more details perspective on addressing the problem related to Subak. And of course, to network and build capacity among participants for the future implementation of sustainable framework for UNESCO and World Heritage Site in Subak. And also we try to get in each groups, we try to get the consensus from all parties on which direction they would like to address in UNESCO World Heritage Site in the Bali province, especially for the Subak and Jatiluwi area. So these are focus area. Group 1, heading by our colleague Dr. Gobi, and then consists of, it's not only the participant from, this is higher education, leaders from higher education, but we are also included the Pekaseh and local community and stakeholders. And the focus area should be a highlight on what is the issue related with social capital, community roles, sociocultural, biodiversity, environmental protection, and agriculture, all related with the Subak, but from this perspective. For Group 2, heading by Dr. Nyoman Utari, our last session speakers, also addressing the rural government policy, research development, what kind of research has been conducted in Subak, and how is the development of this result of this research, and what kind of technology and infrastructure facilities has been implemented, knowing that there is also JICA project on the solar panel in this area in order to come up with more friendly energy users in this area. And then we, on the focus group 3, heading by me, we also trying to addressing what is the enforcement of the certain regulation related to the Subak, what kind of program incentive that has been given in the related with Subak, and what kind of issue, land matters and land use changes related to the Subak. All of these are discussed separately, independently, and then at the end we will gather all the result and come up with the selected goals and target related to sustainable development goals. So these are the FGD in Group 1. We doing it in this differentiation. First, of course, in the holiday villa, holiday villa, in the various discipline of leader from higher education in addressing this Subak, this issue related with Subak. This one also, of course, we already given them the various perspective of Subak from various discipline that has been presented from the local expert, from the tourism, social capital, education, water Subak, and etc. And when it comes to the second session of the focus group discussion on the session in Agung Prana's house, I forgot the names. Taman Sari, yeah, the house's name is Taman Sari. And the house is actually is a community-based place. It's very interesting place actually. And so in this area that we gather with the stakeholder and the Pekaseh. So this is an exercise by its own in addressing various issues related to social capital. So Group 1, this kind of issue and problems actually. They are throwing back to the groups how to develop Subak as an attractive and sexy to younger generation, because no interest from the young generation. They are more towards on the tourism industry now, and then to get the fast cash money compared to the farming activity. Yeah, and then migration from rural to urban, how to influence from urbanization back to rural as a central for economic activity, tourism industry attraction, better job and convenience situation. So these are related to the social capital of the issue related with Subak. And agriculture and environmental. So in agriculture, we face the reality that the selling price of rice is low. And then how is the farmer can survive while the middleman is very strong, and then seems they play the price in this part. And then there is also a pest attack to this party. So during the Green Revolution, we know that there is an effort to grow the new varieties of paddy, and then it's hampered affect the growth of the organic rice paddy in this area. So from the other effect of this Green Revolution is the implementation of the chemical fertilizer that cause environmental pollution to the soil water and then cause soil quality in this area. So at the same time, each group also requires to come up with what the SWOT analysis, strength, what is the strength, what is the weaknesses, what is the threat and the opportunity for Subak as a World Heritage Site. Rice terrace is a complex, as I mentioned, its cultural landscape in Bali is very complex set of entity involving the nature and also the social dimension. So these are the strengths that already is believed from this perspective. Yeah? So is of course the World Heritage itself has its own brand, is the recognition, is improve the Bali this tourism attraction, especially for this area. And they have also acknowledged that social solidarity and belief system, the three Hita Kerana is very strong value actually that has been embedded in Balinese people, and the certification of secure the land for the long run is also another strength. Quality assurance of the World Heritage Site as labeling and branding is very strong. So they acknowledge about the existence of World Heritage Sites. But at the same time, the weakness that we need to address also the existing weakness that farmer also is mentally fatigued to get the first cash. It's very fast cash. It's very long to wait the paddy getting ripened and then to get the cash for to sustain their life. And then at the same time, Subak traditional organization also is getting weak. And then it's knowing that the Pekaseh also now, especially for the World Heritage Site, they have another role as a tourist guide. So that's another burden to them. But then still they are still happy doing it because they are very good storytelling and tell us about all the story related with the Subak and rice terrace. So it's very interesting actually. And then they also still find how they can get benefit from the being a UNESCO World Heritage Site from the villages especially. And then of course the weaknesses of Green Revolution speed up the rice production, but it's low quality in the long run. So because of the soil problem. So there is a movement to move back to the organic farming of the rice planting. And then the chemical fertilizer is still strong, even though we are already invited one of the entrepreneur for organic fertilizer, but there are still, we need more subsidy and help for government to strengthen the bioorganic fertilizer. The threat, of course, we cannot avoid the urbanization, migration, land ownership, external parties on the farmer's land. So because of this amazing pictures, image of Jati Lui rice terrace, so it becomes attraction from the external investor, especially to buy the land near to this area. And the threat from the Green Revolution, mechanization of agriculture practice changes, and etc. So I will not going through the details of this because we don't have much time. So this is actually one of the prospect of action plan from Group 1. Still, in order to back to the living nature, so we need to create a more attracting cultural tourism package also for the generation to promote, also involving more ICT, promotes this Subak as a World Heritage Site and rice terrace, and then another diversified economic source of tourism, and etc. So these are among the results from FGD Group 1. Group 2, they are more emphasis on the rural governance policy related with the Subak and rice terrace, research development and technology. So these are the various issues related with them. Consensus of policy should be based on the consensus, problem, distribute the fund from government, low bargaining power from farmer, etc., etc. So issue also related with many issues related with tourism, water temple, festival, and etc. So these are among the issues, problem identified from the Pekaseh or head of farmer. But at the end, after the series of FGDs involving the stakeholder and also academia, researcher, there are a consensus to get with simplify of issues, and also the action plan, as this is part of the, if you remember, Bahasa Seperti Science Framework, this is already the second co-envisioning of the future, and then we would like to highlight that these are the results from our FGD too. So we will come up with some of the program that will be hopefully can implement in this part of this our exercise, the future for like one Subak, one market, involving the quadruple helix of the university, private sector, NGO, and etc. Water harvesting system diagram, how system seems also very potential to be integrated in the part of the school and ecotourism program, capacity building and knowledge development. So the focus group from group 3, from the enforcement program and incentive land method and land use changes. So we use, this is exercise in a hotel holiday villa, and then when it comes to the community, we would like to draw in the mind mapping. And these are set of the problems issue that we got from farmer Pekaseh. The key issues is actually, of course, still we need an incentive for Pekaseh and farmer being World Heritage sites, and how is the management entrance fee is still managed by local government, and Pekaseh need more training if they would like adding their responsibility as a tourist guide. Higher land tax, farmer living in poverty, so higher cost of sustaining the paddy field. So all these kind of issues actually drawing from extract from this mind mapping, and also the SWOT analysis, the innovative solution that come up from this action plan from the group 3. And at the end, we gather in each group, we will, during the process of localizing SDGs goals and target, we give them the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Goals, and each target, these are the goals. Yeah. And then we ask each groups to identify in related goals and the target, what are the issues that are under these specific goals. For example, for of course, we are not like a poverty. The intention of this goals number one is actually to end poverty in all its forms everywhere. So each goals one have targets, and we identify the targets, and each groups has identified whether there is potential issues that target has been mentioned after the result of the FGD. So after this section, of course, this is just to give you brief introduction about the SDG dimension: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. And these are the goals for the 17 goals. And the target, this is the example sheet that we use during the SDG goals and tracking on how is, for example, like for our result, the green one is represent group 3, the yellow color is to represent group 2, and the blue color is to represent from the group 1. So if two group has identified, like for example, issues related to this to mobilize resource to sustain global partnership. For example, from our result of our group 3, that we recognize that we need to improve networking in order to mobilize resource and to sustain the global partnership. So specific of this issue that result from the FGDs from each group, let's say if group 2 and group 3 and group 2 has recognized these targets, so we give the score 2. But for example, for if this three groups has identified goals or target 17.6, so it becomes we give them a score 1. while for if only one group, so it becomes only the score number 3, mean the lowest score. The highest score is 1, the second highest score is 2, and the third one, the last one is which is only belongs to one group is score 3. Oh, sorry, I think it's sorry, it's reversible. It's supposed to be for if 3 groups identify for the same target, so we give score 1. Yeah. So if it belongs only from only one group, let's say this group only addressing this target, so we give score only 1. For examples, I give you the details. Yeah, let's say for example, if Pekaseh and farmers are living below poverty line. This is the result from our issues from addressing from the group 3. So only group 3 are identified this one. So we give a ranking 3. So this target is actually the detail out of the end poverty goal 1. So goal 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 targets. So we identify this issue relates with which targets. So that is the exercise that we identify, and at the end we come up with there is 13 goals actually related with the Subak, but then for each goals we identify also the target as I mentioned before. So we surprisingly that the goals number 17, partnership for the goals, has 5 targets. Means more groups has identified that the urgency for 5 targets under goal 17 as important that should be addressed in order to addressing the relevant goals and target for Subak system in Bali. And it reduced into the 4 targets for goal number 15, life on land. This is also predicted because we need the forests to sustain and to maintain the ecosystem service in order to get the goals 12, where responsible consumption and production is needed, and its support with the 3 targets has been identified from the 3 groups. And also goal number 4 has been identified for the 2 targets, and also goal 16 about peace, justice, and strong institution also has been addressed. Of course, the other 13 goals has also identified, but only consists of 1 or 2 targets actually. So this is actually for the whole exercise we identify 13 targets, but then these are the priority of the goals that has been recognized according to the number of the targets. Yeah. So at the end, the process also come up with, we are trying to doing some exercise also in order to link between the possibility to get the, what we call it as a multi-level sustainability science governance for Subak is due to allowing the dynamic interaction between the global and local level. Maybe I can showing in this. Yeah, again, this is just to show you the previous exercise. Number goals 17, we put it as a priority 1 because they have more targets. Yeah. Okay. So just to see again, to address about the targets SDG. This is also has been addressed by Professor Subak from the Director of UNESCO Regional Science Bureau for Asia and Pacific. So this regional sustainability science is already addressed as one approach in and mobilizing the sustainable development goals. And these are the recognition that the need to emphasize on the sustainability, innovation, and technology in addressing this in addressing SDG and mobilizing it using the sustainability science. And allow me also to use the slide from Professor Jatna Supriyatna as our SDSN Indonesia and also co-chair for SDN Southeast Asia. This is to give you a sense that Indonesia also has already a specific SDG goals, targets, and indicators. And from the 17 goals and 169 targets and 240 indicators. They are also identify the social pillar, 6 goals, 50 targets, and these are the goals. The economic pillar also is very important. The environmental pillar, these are the pillars that has been identified as an important for Indonesia to achieve SDGs. And of course, he has also mentioned that from the traditional development issues related to sustainable development, including the poverty, hunger, good health, quality education, clean water, and etc. There is also emerging development issue that need to be addressed. Sorry about the slide. The life below the water, climate change, and responsible consumption. And of course, he has also addressed that there is an urgency to multi-stakeholder collaboration in order to addressing the SDG and collaboratively solve the issue related with the SDGs. And they mentioned the importance of media as a transformer, the youth as a campaigner, and nonetheless, academia, NGO as SDGs for center of excellence. So these are already mentioned from the national level of SDG in Indonesia. And these are the triangulation of the government, civil society, and private sector is very important in the success of the SDG. At the end, what we are trying to addressing the various level of the governance interaction. Actually, we know already that this global level we have SDG goals and target. It's not only Indonesia. In other country, every country in the world has to acknowledge this global level of SDG that need to be transferred at their regional level. So each country has different priority and emphasis depends on the socioeconomic background and the situation in each country. But at the same time, I would like also to address the importance of regional level governance. In this case, we use UNESCO by sustainability science approach that has a potentially for us to get the assistance in terms of how we can mobilize this SDG from the global level. At the national level, I just present the Prof. Jatna slide that Indonesia also has their own priority goals for Indonesia. But at the same time, when it comes to Bali with the province, Bali province with the World Heritage Site and the potential for man and biosphere, what would be the potential SDG goals and target? So this subnational, that is where we are located now. This is the SDG for Subak that we are just come up with from our exercise. So this interaction, let me explain, maybe it's a bit confusing at the beginning, at first. I hope I still have time. So the global level, actually, or the SDG itself is actually, of course, Indonesia has already acknowledged and accommodate this SDG and applying and identifying prioritization of this SDG for Indonesia. Yeah, has been explained before, and these are the interaction. And from the global also can reach at the local level is by being the World Heritage Site in the Jati Luwih is attract the global tourism and the tourists at the same time also open up the global challenge, of course. And these are also another interaction where regional level of interaction between the regional level and the local level is by being heritage site is also part of the UNESCO program. That is this kind of interaction. And as I mentioned, we just also got from Pak Suastika, the stakeholder, that the national level of the from the global level to national is by being the World Heritage Site also allows the national government to acknowledge the strategic national tourism area for Jati Luwih. Yeah, so it is another impact of the interaction. And these are the national to local. Of course, Ministry of Education and Culture plays a very important role in facilitating the World Heritage Site. We are see the presentation of I use the presentation of Mr. Yunus Arbi for this, and these are across the vertical interaction is where we accommodate actually this exercise, and also the other, it can be applied to other exercise as well, where the identification issue by using participatory based, workshop based approach, where inter and transdisciplinary approach is accommodate and acknowledge and implement. So it's actually has a potential for co-production of knowledge for innovation solution that get a consensus across level. And then these are the interaction from each level, of course. Yeah, I think is in these are the framework that we are trying to map out of this from our exercise also, that the governance dynamic interaction is very significant in not only addressing the problems, but would help in co-production of knowledge for the innovation solution. So back again to the Folk 2016, that this framework also showing us that it's not only a top-down global approach to and for the people, but also let's the bottom up also. So it's top-bottom punya approach. And this is also a process engaging people to collaborate across level and scale. So, and it's shared vision and creativity from by the proper institution, and continuously learning, gaining experience and building capacity. So it's a long-term process, cyclical, and if you refer to the sustainability science framework, it's a never-ending process, and we need to implement and monitoring evaluation for this framework, and also the result from our exercise. So these are the in the nutshell the innovation of this framework is actually adopted from the urban climate governance that has been developed by JANIC for urban climate governance. So hopefully I just see that these are very applicable also in this area. So maybe I can conclude after the 4 series of this session of masterclass that sustainability science has a potential to mediate the inter and transdisciplinary approach, of course, in mobilizing SDG and in our session in establishing biosphere and World Heritage Site. These two function as biosphere stewardship, whether in biosphere reserve and World Heritage Site, that where long-term engagement and spider web of common understanding of issue, co-envisioning the future continuous improvement, that a cycle environmental sustainability science framework developed by Sugiura in 2016. I think it's needed in transition of the sustainability transformation towards sustainable society that has been addressed from my first slides in the masterclass ones. I think so. I will end up my presentation. This is our pictures together, the Malaysian and the Bali's leaders from higher education. We are